This as the world watched the Winter Olympics kick off with pomp and flair. The Games will go on, and the political tensions on the sidelines likely will too.
And for more, let's bring in Bruce Klingner, a senior research fellow at the Heritage Foundation and former CIA Deputy Division Chief for Korea for the CIA, as we mentioned. Bruce, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me.
What do you make of the scenes of unity that we have seen there in South Korea? Are you hopeful about potentially a thaw in relations here between the North and the South?
Well, we can always be hopeful, and certainly it's uplifting to see the Koreas walk in together. That said, we've seen it before, the 2000 Sydney Olympics and some other exercises. And then there have been other instances where North Korean athletes and a senior political delegation came to South Korea in October 2014, for example, and none of that reflected a change in North Korean policy, and Pyongyang didn't moderate its quest for nuclear and missile programs and the like. So, again, we can be hopeful, but, the Olympics are kind of like going on vacation. A nice pause from the tension, but once they're over, then you have to get back to the real job.
Yeah, and speaking of getting back to the real job, I mean, the U.S. policy is remaining pretty strong against the North. In fact, just a few days ago, the U.S. administration promised its toughest ever sanctions against the North. Vice President Mike Pence, who we know is also in South Korea, calling this display of unity between the North and the South simply a charade. Given that, I mean, we have South Korea here taking a softer tone toward the North now. Is it putting its relationship with the United States in jeopardy?
I don't think so. Right now, we're in a pretty good place between the U.S. and South Korea, perhaps better than many of us had expected when a progressive president came in. But he really was driven more to the center on his policy on North Korea, reversing his policies on the THAAD ballistic missile defense system, reversing his position to admit that, yes, reopening Kaesong would be a violation of resolutions, and then emphasizing pressure over engagement. So we're in a better place. And when I was in Seoul 2 weeks ago, all the senior officials said the right things about maintaining military exercises and the like. So there may be some differences during the next 2 weeks, but I think once they're over, we'll see if President Moon pushes for a further postponement or cancellation of scheduled exercises. That would not go over well here in Washington. But at least we're starting from a good point.
So what would you then, if we're starting from a good point, what would you advise the Americans? What would you advise the South Koreans to do after the Olympic dust settles?
Well, they should maintain the previously scheduled military exercises. Those are done to hone the deterrent and defense capabilities of the alliance, the U.S.-South Korean alliance. Those should not be sacrificed for some gesture from the North simply to attend the Olympic Games. Also, while both countries should continue to try to reach out to North Korea, we do have to realize that Pyongyang is in open defiance of the international community with its not only the tests of missiles and nuclear weapons, but the sheer existence of those programs are themselves violations. So you can't abandon the international resolve to pressure and punish North Korea for its repeated violations. But of course, we still reach out on engagement. But Pyongyang has been rejecting pleas from the U.S. for dialogue.
We were just looking at pictures there. Perhaps our team can throw them back up. We were looking at U.S. Vice President Mike Pence at the opening ceremony there. Potentially a bit of an awkward situation because we know that Kim Jong-un's sister was sitting just a couple of rows behind him. Quite an image. Perhaps they can just bring that back for us. And I want to ask you, because we've seen, just generally speaking, a harsher tone from the Trump administration toward North Korea. Do you see it, though, really as a change in policy, or is this just strategic patience with a fresh coat of paint?
Right. Well, there's a lot of continuity in U.S. policies over administrations, and that's not a bad thing. You don't want U.S. policy veering 180 degrees every 4 or 8 years. So, the Trump administration, like the Obama administration, is talking tough on sanctions, but is still pulling its punches on a number of things the U.S. could be doing to more fully enforce U.S. law. That said, they have sanctioned additional North Korean entities and a handful of Chinese entities. But we're really holding back on sanctions on Chinese banks, as well as other Chinese businesses which are in violation of, if not UN resolutions, U.S. law for misusing the U.S. financial system.
We want to thank you very much, Bruce Klingner, Senior Research Fellow at the Heritage Foundation and former CIA Deputy Division Chief for Korea. We appreciate it.